engage with QCTO on the system and have started implementing additional modules within the system. So colleagues, this is a great testament to the hard work that we've been doing over the past 2 years. We have not just sat and allowed you to make use of manual processes to frustrate you and us, but simply to say that when we eventually launch something, we want to make sure that it's fit for purpose and that it is. So,
with the change from historical, or what we call the legacy programs, into the occupational programs under the QCTO. I'm sure we all are aware that the legacy programs, in terms of the last date of expiry, have expired, and I'm sure that many of you know that the last date of enrollment was set to be 30th of June 2024. There are some further updates that have come directly from the QCTO and DHET with regard to this. And so Ms. Fukuchiani is going to take you through a comprehensive presentation that covers the transitional arrangements, that covers what your options are in terms of available qualifications to seek accreditation for through the QCTO and the occupational model. Please help me in giving her a round of applause as she comes through to do her presentation. Over to you.
Presentation. We've got it, yeah. Your presentation, is it that the presentation? Yes. Yeah, we've got it.
So you're able to be moving through the slides?
Do you want to do it yourself?
Yes, please.
Nog ik word gaan niet dat ze maar eerst praten. Ik ben niet vaart, ik kan hier ook. That one.
Good morning, colleagues.
Morning.
I hope you are able to hear me. Well, this is local, so I'm assuming you are able to hear me. As the program director has indicated, I am Ubuntu Gianni. I will be taking you through our transitional arrangement presentation. The layout of the presentation, we will be covering the overview of the occupational qualifications framework. We will also look at the transitional arrangements, the registered occupational programs, as well as qualifications that are currently in review, occupational accreditation, as well as accreditation for the assessment centers. And at the end of the presentation, we will be taking questions and providing answers. The overview of the OQSF. The OQSF is a component of the National Qualifications Framework, and it assists in classifying the qualifications to ensure that they are relevant and they meet the specific standards. The purpose of the OQSF is basically to ensure that there is alignment with industry needs,
This is also to ensure that the qualifications that we are developing are actually meeting the sector requirements. In terms of us developing the qualifications, we of course use our sector skills planning, but additionally we are welcoming applicants from industries who want to have qualifications developed in their sector to meet any identified gaps in the sector. We also look at standardization. This is to ensure that there is consistency amongst the different skills training providers to ensure that the needs are met ultimately across all the sectors. Quality assurance. The OQSF is also responsible for ensuring that qualifications are meeting all the established quality standards, which is why we also not only have the Quality Council, but quality assurance bodies within the quality partners. Recognition of skills. This is to allow for recognition of skills and competencies that are gained through any form of learning. Facilitation of career pathways. We will also touch on this in the next few slides when we look at the articulation across the NQF levels. And lastly, it is to support lifelong learning, which encourages continuous learning. Occupational qualifications sub-framework. So colleagues, this slide and the next slide basically highlights the NQF levels that we have within the system. It also indicates the classification of qualifications in each NQF level. And lastly, it gives us an indication of the quality councils as well as the qualification sub-frameworks that are governing the particular quality council. From NQF level 1 to NQF level 4, we see that the Quality Council is Umalusi, and they are operating within the general and further education and training qualification sub-framework. NQF level 5 to NQF level 10, we have CHE, which operates within the higher education qualifications sub-framework. And lastly, we have the QCTO, which is the OQSF. And as you can see, colleagues, it works from NQF level 1 up to NQF level 8. This is also to indicate that there is articulation that is possible through all the sub-frameworks. As indicated, this slide is linked to the previous slide. What is included on this slide is the implementation of the external integrated summative assessment, which is under the OQSF. And what this basically means is that once the learners have completed the program, they will be subjected to write this external integrated summative assessment, which will be hosted at the assessment centers and implemented by the quality partner, in this case, the MICT-CETA. The structure of the qualifications and the OQSF. The OQSF consists of registered occupational programs. These programs may either be a full qualification or a part qualification, and they comprise of 3 key components, namely knowledge and theory, practical component, as well as the workplace component, where we see skills learning or stimulated work experience learning. As you are aware, colleagues, for the legacy or the historical qualifications, certification was done by the quality partner. However, as we move over to the occupational qualifications, all certificates will be received from the Quality Council, in this case, the QCTO, upon completion of the part qualification or a full qualification. As already indicated, learners will be expected to complete the 3 components from either the full qualification or part qualification. Upon successful completion, they will then have to write the external integrated summative assessments. For skills programs, the learners will complete the knowledge and the practical skills as specified in the relevant curriculum document, and they will ultimately write the final supervised assessment. In this occupational qualifications, we are also making acceptance to recognition of prior learning to ensure that successful learners are also able to write the ESA. The next phase is us looking at the transitional arrangements. As already mentioned, colleagues, and you are possibly also aware of the ministerial dissemination of 2014, which ultimately was saying we are phasing out the historical qualifications and moving over to occupational qualifications. This was supposed to have been done by 2018. However, due to the development process, the number of qualifications and the number of policy partners, this was not possible. We are in 2024 and we are still phasing out the historical qualifications in favor of the occupational qualifications. The OQSF policy of 2021 basically enforces that all legacy programs that already have occupational programs registered as a replacement will ultimately have the last date of enrollment of 30 June 2024, which will also see that we need to successfully certify all the learners by 30 June 2027. In the recently published gazette by the QCTO, there was an extension that was made across all the policy partners for qualifications, historical qualifications that did not have at the time a replacement of an occupational program. Therefore, those qualifications were then extended to allow the policy partners to finalize on the development processes for those particular qualifications. In the MICTC term, we then have 30 qualifications that were extended, which at the time were not replaced by occupational programs. The gazette indicated that the extension was for a maximum of 2 years. In the MICC CETA, we granted the extension for only 1 year, which ultimately means that those legacy qualifications have a last date of enrollment of 30 June 2025. The implications of the transitional arrangements. Colleagues, the MICC CETA is no longer accepting any applications or awarding any accreditation for legacy or historical programs. The learners must be enrolled by 30 June 2025 on those 30 extended legacy qualifications. Skills development providers are then encouraged to apply to the QCTO for application of accreditation for occupational programs that are already available on the system. The skills development providers must ensure that all their learners are assessed, moderated, and successfully exited by the last date of achievement or the teach-out period. Colleagues, the next 2 slides will then be giving us an indication of the list of qualifications that have been extended. These are the 30 qualifications that have the last date of enrollment of 30 June 2025. These qualifications are across all our subsectors: media, telecommunications, electronics, and IT. Registered occupational programs. We have a total currently of 7 registered occupational programs within the ETQA. So these are qualifications that we have realigned from historical programs and have developed over to occupational programs. The list is 7 occupational programs. 6 of these programs are full qualifications and 1 is a part qualification. The part qualification is the occupational certificate software tester, which is from the full qualification occupational certificate software engineer. These qualifications are already on the SAPA website as well as available on the QCTO website if colleagues want to then start the application of accreditation to offer these particular programs. In addition to the occupational programs, full and part qualifications, we have registered 3 skills programs. These are a replacement of the end user programs that we have on the historical qualifications. In the development of the end user computing occupational program, during our consultation with the industry and subject matter experts, we came to a consensus that we will not be able, rather, to develop a qualification, occupational qualification for an end user computing or an end user computer. Therefore, the consensus was to develop a series of skills programs We have those approved and they are on the QCTO website if stakeholders want to be accredited for these skills programs. From our 4IR division, we have the following qualifications that are already registered. They are also available for accreditation. You can find the list on the QCTO website as well as on the SAQA website. And this is the rest of the registered qualifications, colleagues. We also have registered skills programs under the 4IR. This is the list of the skills programs which are also available on the QCTO website for accreditation. So colleagues, the 30 qualifications that have been extended that we shared the list for, these are the qualifications that we have already developed. The development process for these qualifications has been completed, I think for about 28 of them. The development is done. The qualifications are either sitting with the QCTO or with SAQA, and they are in evaluation. So the evaluation process basically is in twofold, with the QCTO firstly and with SAQA secondly. The one with the QCTO is where we have developed the qualifications and have made a submission to the QCTO. The QCTO is preparing the content, reviewing the content in order to then publicize the documents for public comment. Public comment is a process in the development where stakeholders who have a vested interest in this particular qualifications to review the qualifications and provide their final inputs and comments before we can recommend the qualifications to SAQA for registration. And when the evaluation is with SAQA, it means that the qualification has gone through public comment and QCTO has ultimately then recommended the program to be registered with SAQA. This is a list, colleagues, of our 4IR programs which are also in evaluation. So the evaluation process will be the same as what I've just indicated in the ETQA perspective, where it's either with QCTO or with SAQA in preparation ultimately to have the programs registered. This is a list of skills programs that are also in evaluation. So the skills programs don't go to SAQA. Once the QCTO is done with the evaluation and they have approved the skills programs, then they will make them available to the public for accreditation. Learnerships that are registered in the MICT SETA. So from the ETQA division, we have not registered any learnerships from the realigned qualifications. However, the 4IR division has already registered a number of learnerships, and this is a list of learnerships that is available for implementation. The process for registering learnerships is that the quality partner needs to complete an application form, submit it to the QCTO for review, and if the QCTO is satisfied with the information on the forms and the supporting documentation, they will then send the applications to the Department of Higher Education and Training for further evaluation and ultimately the department to issue out the learnership registration number. So these 8 qualifications have learnership registration numbers attached to them, and in the case of the 7 that we mentioned at the beginning of the program from the ETQA, the applications have since been submitted to QCTO and we are waiting for outcomes in that regard. Accreditation process for occupational programs as well as assessment centers. So colleagues, this is the process that is followed when applications are submitted for accreditation. As you are aware, and as I've already mentioned, the MICT is no longer accepting any applications. All applications need to then be sent through to the QCTO. The presentation has a link for the application for occupational programs, and this is also available on the QCTO website. So basically the process is that the SDP will submit an application on the QCTO website. You will complete a form, attach the supporting documents that are required. The QCTO will then conduct a desktop evaluation. Then they will submit a list of all applicants to the relevant quality partner. In this case, it will be the MICT CETA, if your qualifications are within the scope of the MICT CETA. The list is sent to ETQA management, who will then acknowledge receipt of the list, make the allocations where they allocate an advisor who will be the one to conduct the site visit and produce a report. Once the advisor receives the list, they then contact the provider to make arrangements for the site inspection. We are expected to then send the list back to management with the dates of the proposed site visits. Management will share that list again with the QCTO to indicate that there are arrangements made to ensure that the site is completed. When the QCTO receives the list, they are able to then sample to also come on those site visits if they are actually able to do so. Once the admin work is done, the site visits will then be conducted by the relevant official. We will conduct a site inspection, produce an accreditation report. If there are any gaps that are identified, the advisor will share those gaps with the SDP, provide timelines for remediation, and we will work around then those processes. Upon successful completion of the site inspection and compiling the reports will then be presented firstly to the committee within the MICT CETA so that the recommendations are upheld if that is the case, and secondly also with the QCTO, who will also sit in their own committee to then review the recommendations made on these reports. Ultimately, the decision will be made by the QCTO whether accreditation will be awarded. In cases where the QCTO has gaps that it identifies, they will share those gaps with the quality partner. Then that allocated advisor will share the information back to the provider, provide timelines still so that we are able to then resolve against those gaps. If we are unable to resolve the gaps, the reports will then be closed with a recommendation of no accreditation until the gaps are addressed. So basically, colleagues, some of these points are already what we've discussed already in the previous slide, but I think I will just highlight the fact that when you are accredited as an SDP, you are then required to comply with the accreditation policy, terms and conditions, not only of the MICT as the quality partner, but of the QCTO as the quality council. Subject matter experts are also required to be registered with the MICT CETA. So previously we were using terms such as assessor and moderator. Subject matter experts refer to the same practitioners. At the moment, we had not actually started the registration process of these SMEs for occupational programs, but luckily with the introduction of the system, we ought to be able to do so, because if you have also noted, the curriculum documents of these occupational qualifications also make reference to one of the requirements of the SME being the fact that they ought to be registered with the relevant quality partner. Skills development providers who are accredited for occupational qualifications and would like to also be accredited or registered as assessment centers, provided they meet the requirements, they are able to do so. Roles and responsibilities of role players in the assessment center process. So we have the Quality Council, which is the QCTO, which ultimately ensures that there is quality control of all the processes. We have the quality partner, assessment quality partner, which is us, the MICT. We need to ensure that the ACEs are implemented according to set standards and procedures. And lastly, we have the assessment center, which is the organization or the entity which will be registered for certain qualifications in order to be then able to host the assessment that will be undertaken by the learners. The responsibilities of the QCTO. The QCTO will be considering all recommendations that are made by the quality partner for assessment centers to be accredited for the qualifications they want to be accredited for as an assessment center. The QCTO will also be evaluating and may also verify the information that is provided by the quality partner in recommending particular assessment centers to be accredited. The QCTO will be granting accreditation for assessment centers. It will also be ensuring that they are publishing on their websites the information of the registered assessment centers. The information that will be published will be the relevant details of the accredited assessment center, as well as the qualifications that the assessment center will then be hosting these assessments for. If accreditation is withdrawn either by the QCTO or the quality partner, that will be done so in writing. All relevant parties will need to be informed, and if that assessment center was already on the website, then the QCTO will ensure that they are removing the details of that assessment center. The responsibilities of the MICT-SETA as a quality partner. The MICT will be making recommendations to the QCTO for consideration of accreditation of the assessment centers. The MICT can also de-accredit defaulting accredited assessment centers where required. Reasons for that will be provided. They will also be done so in writing. The MICT also has a responsibility to monitor the performance of the assessment center, not only doing so for the sake of the learners who will be assessed at these assessment centers, but also doing so because we have a duty to report back to the Quality Council on the implementation of these assessment centers. We are also required to distribute the examination question papers to the assessment centers in preparation for the assessments that will be taking place. We will also publicize or publish the information of the registered or accredited assessment centers on our websites. The responsibilities of the assessment center. The assessment center is required to comply with all policies and procedures, both of the quality partner and that of the Quality Council. They're also supposed to adhere to all standards that are set by the quality partner in order to ensure that they maintain their accreditation. As an assessment center, you are also responsible, as you will be getting into a formal agreement with the quality partner for the implementation of these assessments. We also need to ensure that these assessment centers have the relevant human resources. This is in the cases of having qualified assessors as well as moderators, and it is also your responsibility to ensure that all the required resources, physical resources and equipment for the facilitation of these assessments are in place. Assessment centers as an entity or organization needs to ensure that they are registered accordingly in terms of the South African law. All required documentation, your registration documents, your tax documents, your occupational health and safety compliance needs to be in order. The premises where the assessments will be taking place also needs to be safe and secure and accessible to candidates. The safety and the security, in this case, colleagues, is also why we need to ensure when you submit for application that you also have public liability cover as an institution. As mentioned also, you must have the relevant resources as well as human resources as well as physical resources. In cases where the quality partner or the Quality Council has additional requirements that are specified for the implementation of the assessments, that will also be made known to the assessment center for them to ensure that those resources are in place. An accredited assessment center is also able to increase its scope. This is not only within the MICT-SETA where you are adding additional qualifications, but you are also able to extend your scope across other quality partners or other sectors as well in order to then be able to implement assessment centers that you are found compliant to implement. The quality partner is also able to make recommendations to amend the scope of the assessment center to the QCTO. The QCTO can also make amendments to the scope, and reasons for that can be based on the recommendation that is made by the policy partner. If the resources, human resources, physical resources you have for a particular occupational program are similar to another occupational program that we have in our scope. The QCTO determines that an accredited assessment center no longer has the capacity to conduct the external summative assessments for which it has been accredited for. So that in that case also the scope will be amended, because it will mean that we will need to remove those particular qualifications from your accreditation letter, and you will be unable to then host assessments for those qualifications. In all cases of an amendment to scope, the QCTO will then ensure that they inform all the relevant parties, and they will do so in writing, and also ensure that in the absence of that offering under your scope, there are other providers who are able to then offer those services. Colleagues, the application process for assessment centers is the same as that of occupational qualifications. However, the link, if you can see at the bottom of the screen, is different to the link we had when we were discussing occupational programs. So the provider needs to then ensure that they are using the correct link to then apply for what they want to apply for. If you want to apply to implement occupational programs, you use one link. If you want to apply to be an assessment center, you will then ultimately use a different link. But the process will be the same. You complete the form, you submit the required supporting evidence, the list is sent to the policy partner, allocations are made, site visit is conducted, report is then presented to the different committees, and if everything is successful, an accreditation letter for being an assessment center will be issued. Withdrawal of accreditation. The policy partner as well as the policy council have the right to withdraw an assessment center's accreditation. The reasonable grounds to do so include assessment irregularities that may be found during the implementation of particular assessments, failure to comply with the relevant policy partner requirements, and this is not only just for the policy partner but for the policy council as well. If there are any instances of poor internal moderation, ineffective reporting, or any fraudulent activities, the policy partner and the policy council are able to then withdraw your accreditation on those grounds. If it so happens that your accreditation has been withdrawn, you are able to appeal that decision. The decision to withdraw will also be coming largely from the policy council, and if that is the case and the provider wants to then appeal the decision, they will do so at a cost that is determined by the QCTO as the policy council. If the deaccreditation is appealed, the QCTO will then convene an appeals committee where all decisions will be made, where all discussions will take place, and everything that will then happen from that point will also be put in writing. That is the end of the presentation, colleagues. Thank you for lending me an ear.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Google. I think she deserves another round of applause. She did really well. Okay, colleagues, according to our agenda, we have some time for questions and answers. This is your opportunity to pose any questions related to the presentation that Google has just tabled, any questions related to the historical accreditation, perhaps occupational accreditation, any questions you may have related to the processes that we've just discussed. Over to you. The gentleman in the back. Morning.
I have a question with regards to the assessor and moderator Thank you. Hi, Henry. Good morning, everyone. I have a question with regards to the assessor and moderator registration. It mentioned earlier in the slides that all assessors and moderators should be registered as subject matter experts. I just wanted to find out if that is in fact the case.
So yes, it is the case. You'd note in the occupational process, they don't call them assessors and moderators, they call them subject matter experts. But by and large, they fulfill the same purpose. They have to have the inherent skill and knowledge related to the content of the qualification to be able to determine a learner's competence. So in the system, we have developed a module around subject matter expert registration. You'd be able to log into the system, as Tim will demonstrate, and then apply to become a subject matter expert for the MICT-CETA occupational programs. I must indicate that while the QCTO's view is that you simply need to be a subject matter expert, meaning you must understand what's happening within the qualification, our view still remains you should have been exposed to the unit standard around assessment and moderation, because how else are you going to ensure fairness in the process, the validity of the process, the authenticity of the process? So those still remain the requirements from an MICT-CETA perspective. In short, you can make use of your current assessors and moderators to form part of the occupational accreditation process by registering in the subject matter experts. Okay. Any other questions? Colleagues, you send us many questions via emails. We are here to respond to all those questions. There are no silly questions. Please go ahead.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, the MICT staff, and good morning to colleagues, the SDPs. My name is Chris Mateja from FS Copy Steps and Information Technology. I'd like to thank the MICT-CETA to come for this learner management system sessions. This is one of the best CETAs I can recommend. I've got a question, Ms. Natalie and MICT-CETA, on the accreditations, because we're no longer going to, MICT no longer going to accredit the SDPs. For an example, there are some programs that I'm currently running and my accreditation is expired in February 2025. And I'm going to exit the learners in June 2025. By that time, my accreditation will be expired. And normally during the verification process, you request the accreditation letter. So what is going to happen that time when my accreditation is already expired, and as June I have to exit the learners? I think maybe this question can go to with the extension that I've seen on the website to say, like, if it's like this, must I apply for the extension of the accreditation? And is this extension going to be like in a visit from the MICT-CETA, or maybe it's going to be automatically extended? Maybe that is one question with two things. Right, then the other question is on the 4IR qualifications. Like for an example, I want to be accredited to be a system developer occupational qualification. The learning material, is the CETA going to assist us with the learning material, or must we get the other partners who are developing the learning materials to buy the learning materials from them? And how sure that that learning material is aligned with the South African Qualification Authority? Because you might find someone selling the learning material just for the purpose of business. But once you apply for the accreditation, it comes to a stage where the learning material is not complying with the MICT or the QCTO need. I think it's the question of the 4IR. And then the...
Chris, may I stop you? Can I respond to your first three questions and then give you the opportunity to continue? So your first question around your accreditation. The 30 qualifications that Google alluded to in the presentation, those qualifications are automatically extended. The extension is up to and including the last date of enrollment, which is now the 30th of June 2025. Meaning, if you are accredited for any of those qualifications, you can still continue to enroll learners up to 30th of June 2025. Then you'd be able to exit those learners, and meaning exit, we mean the full assessment, so the continuous assessment, the interval moderation, the final assessment, the final moderation, the verification by the CETA must be done by the 30th of June 2029 at the latest. So you have a total of 5 years in which to exit learners. Now, colleagues, can we please not take 5 years to train and to exit learners? We are saying, however, we understand that some of your cohorts may be slower than others. We understand the challenges that happen with implementation. Sometimes learners don't complete, come back later and say, I'd really like to complete at this stage. So you can then exit up to and including that period of time. So in terms of the extension that you're talking about, if any of those 30 qualifications are the ones you're accredited for, you can log onto the website and you can then download, in fact, complete the application form to request for an extension letter. And we have been issuing out those extension letters to everyone who's physically applied for it. We've also issued a circular to the same effect to say that your accreditation is valid up to and including the 30th of June 2025. So the circular also proves, that in fact your accreditation remains valid. So I think that covers your first two questions around the validity of the accreditation and then the exiting of the learners. The last question around the 4IR qualifications and the learning materials. Certainly the MICT CETA has made a commitment. I think we made this commitment in our Stakeholder Roadshow in the previous year. So I think 2022 we came to Bloemfontein and we committed that we would develop learning materials for all of the occupational qualifications that we are developing. So you must note that we can only start with the development once those qualifications are fully approved and are sitting on the NQF. We cannot start developing until that happens. So from our perspective, our side within the ETQA, we've already started with the process of development of learning materials, or appointing a provider at least to develop those learning materials. 4IR have done the same. So as soon as those learning materials are available and are fully ready, we will then issue them to those providers who are accredited already by the QCTO. Now, to your point, Chris, colleagues, these are free learning materials. Please do not sell them to other service providers. Okay, they are free for everyone. And eventually, when you start utilizing the system, you would see there's a section that says for providers. You'd be able to download the material off the website itself with the learner management system. I'm ready to take your, I hope, last question.
Yeah, let me be the last one. My colleagues will be asking. The QCTO, sometimes we can be happy with working one seat on, especially with accreditation and stuff, because the response from them is, I don't know how to explain that, but I can give an example to say, like, since I've applied the accreditation on the 26th of March 2024, by that time we had the pressure to say, like, before 30th of June 2024, everyone, SDP should be sending the accreditation to the QCTO. I've never received any communication. And checking on my emails, I can tell you to say, like, I've done 6 follow-ups with no response. And that led me to say, like, is it not going to be difficult for us as the training providers to get the accreditation in time when we go through QCTO without the support of the MICT CETA? In this case, for an example, I can just say, if I apply for accreditation with the QCTO, can the MICT maybe make an email or maybe allocate someone so that we CC that person to assist us to push the QCTO to give us what we are requesting? Because if I send the application in March 2024, now we are going to the end of year, we talk about 4 to 5 months with no response. And when we call them, it's an up and down. They will tell they'll come back to you without coming back to you. So this is going to lead to some of the training providers, maybe including myself, to shut down the the business, because the reason it will be like when someone delay you with the accreditation, meaning you are not going to run the business, because when the other sitters give the what you call the DGs or maybe the other project, they need accreditation letters. And by that time, you are still waiting for the QCTO to start with the process. So, and I think we are 21 sitters, and all of us, we are going to the QCTO. I think I don't know if how the MICT is going to assist us to get the accreditation maybe in time, not maybe in 2 years, because when I talk about March, if maybe we clock 2024 June without the response from the QCTO, I'll be shutting my down because I didn't get what I requested. I don't know how I'm going to assist with this.
Thanks. Thanks for the question,
Thanks.
Chris. And I think this is not the first time this question has been raised. As we've gone throughout the regions, this has been raised as a challenge, and we acknowledge that it's a challenge. We had a meeting with QCTO this morning, and we have tabled this as a concern to the QCTO. But to your point, there are 21 seaters that they are dealing with. The process has been centralized to the QCTO for all 21 seaters. So the likelihood of them being able to meet a shortened turnaround time in terms of the applications that they receive is very, very slim. I do know that they've been working tirelessly as well to try and work through all of the applications that have been received. But I must also say that in terms of how they've been working on what we would call the semi-automated processes themselves. The QCTO have not had a system, much like the MICT CETA didn't have a system, and we made use of MS forms. And it is for this reason that we are developing a module within the learner management system to be able to assist the QCTO with the receipt of applications, to be able to filter them through across the various CETAs to speed up or fast track the process. So I understand and I commiserate with the unfortunate challenges around the longer duration of time, but even at the times that we receive your allocation list, meaning you're ready for site visits, we are unaware on when your application was actually made. Our part or our function, as Google has explained, is to then to come out, do the site visit, ensure compliance. Once compliance is done, we then table your report at our internal accreditation committee. We submit it to the relevant structures within the QCTO, or ultimately make a determination. I must say, however, in a meeting that we held sometime ago with the CEO of the QCTO and our CEO, we discussed an alternative. And this alternative was an alternative that the QCTO was able to move into, which was to say the MICT CETA accredited providers will be automatically accredited with the QCTO, meaning we will receive the QCTO accreditation number. It would be for a period of 2 years, so a provisional accreditation, much like how you've had provisional accreditation with the MICT CETA in the past. And this is basically to assess your ability to implement the occupational programs. They will then determine which occupational programs. In fact, the discussion was around if you have accreditation for end-user computing as a historical program, you would then be awarded accreditation for the implementation of the 3 skills programs that rest on the NQF right now as occupational end-user computing programs, and you'll be able to implement those according to the set structure. If you perform well, much like you would be with a verification report, etc., SORs are issued out for the learners, the FISAs are complete, the ESAs are compliant. At that stage, then the QCTO would make the determination around whether they would extend and give you a 5-year accreditation. So I think that's quite progressive, colleagues, in terms of them being open-minded to say, how do we then support in terms of this transition that is happening? But as soon as that has been finalized, we will issue it out, much like we have in the past, through our various communication channels and through the circular that will be issued. I think I've covered your question, and I hope I've covered your question, Chris.
Yeah, you have covered my question.
Thank
My last
you.
question will be like, I don't know, maybe
You can reduce the aircon because we are freezing.
Thanks. I didn't get that. Did I just activate?
I just want to request you to submit your application for the request for
The letters are being prepared and they'll be signed over the weekend. So if you expect that you receive an updated letter, I suggest you do it today. Any other questions, colleagues? Your session? No other questions? Nothing? Okay, the gentleman in black here.
Thank you. I'm new in the field. I need clarity on certain concepts. Firstly, the assessment center, is it the same as the training provider?
An assessment center can be the same as a training provider. The only distinction is that if you use Natalie as your subject matter expert in the implementation of, let's say, computer technician program, when you need to assess or we need to do the ESA for the cohort of learners, Natalie cannot be involved with the assessment of those learners, meaning a different subject matter expert will be allocated by the CETA to actually conduct that ESA. The second condition is that at the time the ESA is being administered, there should be no other learners on site. It's like completing studying with UNISA or any other institution. You'd have a dedicated room where you would have an invigilator. So much like that, you have to ensure that that center or that section is cordoned off and dedicated for the duration of that ESA.
Okay. My last question would be, there were steps which were shown here, especially on the program structure. One of them was saying you have to have some workplace experience versus simulated experience. What is the difference?
So in the occupational model, I would say it's quite similar to how you implement a learnership. So when you implement a learnership, you will need to do the theory component, you would need to do a practical, and then you would need to do a workplace component as well. So based on that, so based on that, you would need to ensure that there's a viable workplace where the learner can be placed for the practical component or to physically implement what they've learned in the theory. In the occupational process, it's very much the same. So you have the knowledge, your textbook learning, then you have the practical, where you are simulating the tasks that have been covered within the knowledge component. And that is very critical to the process because after that, learners are expected to go into a workplace. And I think to stress the workplace component is that learners would not gain entry into the ESA exam or the ESA assessment if they have not completed all three of those components, particularly the workplace, where you would have to sign an MOU, have an MOU in place with the workplace that can assist the learners with ensuring that they complete the relevant tasks that are outlined according to the qualification. Remember, throughout this process, the QCTO as well as the MICT when the learners are at the workplace site, will consistently monitor to ensure that the learners are not just making tea and coffee, they are actually doing outputs linked to the outcomes of the qualification. And at that stage, the workplace mentor signs off on the workplace logbook. Once that process is complete, then they would be issued with SORs. And those SORs would be issued directly by the QCTO. They may dedicate the function to the MICT-CETA. Remember, we are in transition, so there's still fluidity around certain processes, but nevertheless, the learners will be issued with the SOR. Once they receive SORs for each of those modules, the knowledge, the practical, and the workplace, that sets them up for gaining entry into the ESA exam. So the recommendation I would make, colleagues, is to integrate the knowledge and the practical component. Because human beings, we learn by doing. So don't just separate it to say I've completed only the knowledge module. Integrate the tasks that are related in terms of the practical to the knowledge module. Simulate it together so that the learner has an integrated knowledge and they're better prepared when they get to the workplace.
Based on that, do you leave simulation to creativity? Or is there a standard?
There is a standard, yeah. So if you look at the occupational qualifications, it's got a set structure. There's curriculum documents, there's assessment specifications, there are the actual modules in terms of what we're developing. So each one of the modules have tasks, they've got outcomes, they've got everything. So in those practical modules, in the learning material, you would actually find what those tasks are. And of course, you could, depending on where the learner is placed, you could perhaps change some of the outcomes, not outcomes, but how a particular task is done. But it still needs to be able to prove competence against the outcome of the task as per the learning material. Okay? And as per the qualification and the assessment specification. There was a question from the gentleman in the back.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned earlier you had a conversation with the QCTO during the meeting with regards to, and you used the end user computing as an example for where you give providers that are already accredited for certain qualifications a 2-year space to teach out the new qualifications. Does that also extend to the other legacy qualifications like film and television and radio production? Or is that only for end user computing?
It's not just for end user computing, it should be for all qualifications across the board. But we have to look at which qualifications have been replaced. So for example, the film and television qualifications, we've developed or realigned those qualifications. They currently sit between SAQA and QCTO. So there are no replacement qualifications. So your letter would come as you are accredited for the legacy qualification because there's no replacement. But as soon as a replacement becomes available, then the QCTO would say you can implement the replacement qualification as well because you will have access to the learning materials. But your duration in terms of your accreditation will still be that 2 year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Colleagues, I really hope I'm not going to find questions in my inbox on the flight home from any of you when I'm here at your disposal. We are here at your disposal. Any other questions that you may have? Anything related to learning programs, perhaps? You want to pose? Then we'll try and respond to it, and if not, we can then issue it to our colleagues within the Learning Programs Division. Lady in the back.
Hi, I'm new in the, I'm busy studying my ETQA, right? So I want to be a service provider for the 4IR courses. Now, was it last year? Yeah, early last year, like around January, I wanted to register as a service provider. The QCTO told me that I need to submit, one of the requirements is a curriculum. But curriculum is available on the website. So what is it that I'm supposed to submit if the curriculum is already there?
Okay. So maybe this is a process we can help you with post the session, but maybe just to summarize for the colleagues, because I think it would be beneficial. So there is a curriculum document that you would find on the website. What the QCTO want is generally, in the past, they've wanted samples of your learning materials matching the curriculum. They want to see how you're going to address the executable outcomes of the qualification. But because the MICT-CETA has said we will develop the learning materials and we will issue it to accredited training providers, they are comfortable to receive your program strategy as well as your learning alignment matrix that is going to explain how these outcomes actually will be met. So they've accepted that now as part of the process, understanding that the MICT-CETA is still in the development of the learning materials. There are other providers, of course, who have developed learning materials and have started implementing according to their set learning materials. These have been evaluated either by our advisors or they've been evaluated directly by the subject matter experts that the QCTO make use of to evaluate the learning materials as part of the accreditation process. But as soon as we get to the stage where all of our learning materials are ready, in fact, we're not going to wait for all of it to be finished. We'll be issuing it as it becomes available. You would then need to make use of those learning materials, strictly make use of those learning materials. Because remember, one of the outcomes and the objectives of the OQSM is to standardize learning across the board. We don't want an artisan or an electrician to to come out as an electrician after being with Natalie and Associates, and then once he's been with Buku and Associates, he was trained, supposed to be an electrician, but he ends up being a plumber. So we need to standardize the learning across the board, and that's why the learning materials are so important. But Buku and Dumeleng is the unit lead for accreditation. He'll be able to assist you with the process around accreditation, also with occupational accreditation. Any other questions, colleagues? I, again, am going to turn this into an auction, going once, twice, closed. Thank you so much. Colleagues, we are supposed to head into the next section, which is then an introduction to the learner management system. It says 5 minutes for Ms. Kumere to take us through an overview. I think maybe if we could take a 5-minute, as the time now is 10 past, 5-minute leg stretch, a little bit of a comfort break. Be back at 11:15, and I'll hand over to Ms. Kumere, who will give us an overview of the system, how we've developed it, and then we'll move into the next stage, which is then demonstrating the system. I hope you've brought your laptops. It's an interactive session. You should be able to log on and start creating a profile, etc., where the system is concerned. Thank you so much, colleagues, and see you in 5 minutes.
Test.
So
Yes.
Is going to take us through I'm being optimistic in saying 5 minutes. I shall say 10 minutes. Will take us through an overview and an introduction to the system before we get into the meat of it, which is actually working on the system. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Wilisiwe Gomete, and I'm a quality assurance advisor from the MIC2C. Mine today is just to take you through the development process, how we developed the system, who we consulted when we developed the system, the modules within the system for historic qualifications and for occupational qualifications. So when we started with the development process, we actually looked at manual processes, the challenges that we were experiencing, as the MICT. We had a consultation with the IT division together with TUT just to take them through our processes. We had to map our processes. Remember that ETQA is a very complex division, so we had to ensure that they understand what we do on a day-to-day basis, so that they are able to develop the system. So we also looked at the functionalities of the previous learner management system, what worked from the previous systems, what did not work. So we took that into consideration as well. We also had consultation from stakeholders. We had sessions with assessors, we had sessions with training providers. We even had a session with the QCTO just to take them through how the system has been mapped, how we have mapped our processes and how the system has been developed. So there were consultations before the system could be developed. So we did not just develop it on our own, but there were stakeholders who were part of the development of the system. So today, as we go through the system, as our stakeholders, we urge you that in a case whereby you feel that perhaps a certain module should be updated, this is the platform that you need to use. If you feel that this module is not going to work for you, say maybe the assessor and moderator module is not going to work for you, there are certain functionalities that we need to look into as the MICTC tablet that we need to update. Please take this opportunity and actually indicate that we can improve here or there. So the modules that we have developed from the system for historic qualifications are the assessor and moderator module, the training provider module, the learner management module, the verification of learner assessment, and the certification module. From the assessor and moderator module, first-time applicants will be able to submit their application. And for those assessors and moderators who are currently registered with MICT-CETA, and for those who were registered previously and have expired, will also be able to access the system, but they are going to use an API. Tim is going to show you as to how you are going to access your profile. So we have migrated most of the data, of our data into the system, so you will be able to access your data. So in a case whereby you are not able to access your profile or your information, please send through an email to etqa@mict.org.za. And we are only going to be able to attend to that email after the roadshows because we are busy on the road. But for those of you who are here today, if you are struggling to log in, please just raise your hand. We will be able to assist you. We are also going to showcase the training provider module. For your, as a training provider, obviously, you have been accredited with MICT-CETA. If your application is still active, you will also be able to access the system via the API. But if you are not accredited with MICT-CETA for historic qualifications, unfortunately, we won't be able to assist you in that regard because we are no longer taking applications. In a case whereby you are not able to access your profile, please also send an email to etqa@mict.org.za. We will be able to assist you. So for the learner management module, you'll be able to load learners for funded and non-funded programs. So for funded programs as training providers, you will not be able to load learners. But the employer who has received the service level agreement should upload the learners into the system and link you as the training provider. So this is just to ensure that when the employer links you, you are able to confirm from your side that you have an agreement with the employer, you have signed a service level agreement with them, you are very much aware that you are going to conduct training on their behalf. So you are not going to be linking learners if perhaps there is an employer that is involved. So for non-funded programs, you'll be able to load your learners in groups. You will specify your learners according to your groups. If maybe you have group A, group B, group C, you will load them accordingly. You'll also be required to upload the supporting documents there and then. So you are not going to load learners, start with the implementation and only submit their supporting documents at a later stage. So you won't be able to proceed if you have not loaded those supporting documents. You do understand how important it is for us to get those documents when we conduct verification. Most of the time what we have realized when we conduct verification is that the documents, your learner documents are only submitted towards the end. And learners have already left the workplace, they are no longer available, so you'll have bits of information from the learners. So this just to ensure that the information is submitted timelessly, you need to ensure that you upload the learner information in time. We also have the verification module. For most of you who have conducted verification with the MICT-CETA, you might have noted from your verification report that there are three types of verification from your verification toolkit. You have your induction verification, your interval verification, and exit verification. We have been conducting exit verification all along. But with the new system, we are now going to start conducting induction and interval verification. So for induction verification, when you enroll learners for the very first time on the system, you are going to be allocated an advisor. So this advisor is going to monitor your program from the beginning until the end. So during induction verification, the advisor will be able to verify whether or not the qualification that you are going to be training these learners on, you are accredited for that. It has been properly mapped. From your learning material, you're going to use learning material that has been approved by the MICT-CETA. Your assessors and moderator are knowledgeable about the program that you are going to implement. You are going to train the learners at a site which is accredited, so that the advisor is able to actually give you a go-ahead to start with the implementation. Halfway through your program, you will be expected to conduct interval assessment and interval moderation. This is to ensure that towards the end of the program, you do not have any challenges whatsoever. You might have noted that your moderator might indicate that, especially for funded program, might indicate that the assessments that were conducted, they do not meet the requirements. You have to perhaps call the learners back so that they can remediate, and the learners are no longer available. So in order for us to remediate that before it even takes place, in order for us to ensure that there are no gaps identified towards exit verification, you need to conduct interval assessment and interval evaluation. So for exit verification, the process is still the same. We are going to conduct exit verification as we have been conducting it. So we have the certification module as well. So for your certification module, once your verification module has been approved, you will receive your certificates, your digital certificate. We are now going to issue 3 sets of documents. You are going to receive a digital certificate for your learners, which you can download from your site. You are going to receive statement of results, which you can download from your side, and you are going to receive a hard copy certificate which has been signed by the CEO. So from your side, from your profile from the system, you'll be able to see as to where you need to come through to the MICT CETA offices to actually collect your certificates. All right. So that is the certification module. We have also put in security features for all these modules. So for your assessor and moderator registration, once you have received your assessor and moderator registration, you will note that there is a QR code on your registration letter. So this QR code, a person can be able to scan it. So when they scan this QR code, they'll be able to see as to which qualifications you are registered for. Your start and end date will also be indicated. This is just to ensure that, assessors and moderators do not modify their registration letters. Training providers as well, when you receive your extension letters via the system, you will also have a QR code so that employers are also able to verify whether you are accredited or not and what are you accredited for. For certification as well, employers will be able to verify whether or not your learners, the certificates that they have received are issued by the MICT CETA just by scanning that QR code. So that is the security feature that we've put in all these documents that we are going to be issuing with the new system. And also, as assessors and moderators, you are going to be receiving notifications. These notifications, if a training provider is going to link you to their profile, you are going to receive a notification, and you have to confirm from your side that you do have a service level agreement, you sign a service level agreement with the employer. So this is with the training provider, this is just to ensure that training providers are not using your documents without your knowledge. As training providers as well, obviously you are going to receive a notification if an employer is going to link you as their training provider for funded programs. So for occupational qualifications, we have the accreditation module, we have the qualification development module, we are busy with the ESA module. We have not finalized that as yet, but we will advise as soon as we have finalized it. We also have the assessor, the subject matter expert module, where assessors and moderators can apply for occupational qualifications. So those are the modules that have been designed for occupational qualifications. So Tim is going to take you through the system. Please, I see that a lot of you have their laptops. In a case whereby you are struggling, please just raise your hand and I'll come through to assist. Thank you. Over to you, Tim.
I'll be taking you through our learner management system, where I'll share with you how you register on the system and then how you maneuver into different roles. I'll show you the assessor moderator application and also learner management as a training provider, and also the application for addition of site as a training provider. And also I'll show you the part of certification. Okay, all right, I think now you can see my screen. So colleagues, to access our learner management system, first thing first, you must go to our website. if you check on our website, we have a button at the top, data registration, which is for existing assessors. And then the third one is training provider registration verification, which it is also for our existing training providers. Can I move this into the site because I need to face? Okay. So, as a new assessor or moderator, you don't need to use these links. As a new assessor, you go to our system where it says LMS login. It will take you to this screen, and if you can check, I'm using our quality assurance environment, which is a different server. So for you, you don't need to use this one. You need to go to our website and click LMS login. Okay? Once you click LMS login, this is where you will land. There is an echo, colleagues. So this is where you will land. Then you click register as a new assessor, not an existing assessor. As a new assessor, you click register. Then you can fill in this form. An existing assessor, you must go to our website and do your assessor moderator registration verification. Okay? So as a new assessor, colleagues, you click registration, it will come to this page. And then I know that sometimes you have other roles on our system, but I will show you how it works, because you may be the SDF or learning program facilitator currently, and you are asking yourself, it means you need to register with another email. No, you are going to use the same email. You will also receive communication with that email, whether it's for assessor information or SDF information or learning LPF. Okay? So as an assessor, you come here, you fill in your information, the same information that you have already filled in if you have another role in our system. You provide the same email and ID. You also select a role here. You can see currently we have learning program facilitator. We also have SDF, ETQA assessor, subject matter expert. So it is possible to have all these roles in our system. You just need to understand which functionality you want to do, then you select the correct role. Because sometimes we get calls saying that I can't see the screen or I can't submit my disbursement, but you have logged in with, you choose the incorrect role. So I'll explain this. Firstly, with the first role, learning program facilitator, this role it is used for DG grants. Okay? When you apply for DG grants, you are going to use learning program facilitator, and you will also upload your learners there as an employer, and also submit your disbursements or your tranches here as a learning program facilitator. Okay? This role, SDF, this one is for WSP applications. So when you submit your WSP or you submit for companies, because as an SDF, you can submit for different companies. You will submit here using the SDF role, okay? ETQA assessor is the one that we are going to talk about, and subject matter expert. We will touch on those. So, colleagues, again, you don't see the role for training provider here, meaning that if you remember, they told you that training provider, they are no longer applying at MICT CETA. You must apply at QCTO. Okay? So, you select your role here as a new assessor, ETQA assessor, you provide the password. Our password needs at least 14 characters length, and then you must follow all the rules that are shown here. Lowercase, capital letters, numbers, and special characters. Okay? Then you click, you agree to MICT CETA policy. Also, you do I'm not a robot thing. Then you click register. Once you click register, you will receive an email, and you can also log in to our website. Okay, as an assessor, as a new assessor. Then if you are an existing assessor, you come to our website, you click this link, which it says assessor or moderator registration verification, meaning that you are going to verify your information. Then automatically the system will create login credentials for you so that you can be linked with your previous information. So you click here, and then it will take you to this page, assessor moderator registration verification. On this page, you need to provide your ID number, registration number, and then you click send OTP to email or cell phone. Okay? It might happen that when you click send OTP, maybe the information that we have on our system, it is your old email or your old cell phone number. You don't receive the OTP to proceed, then you can call us or send us an email at etqa@mictceta.org.za. Then we can assist you and update your information. But you also need to attach your accreditation letter. Okay? So I will provide my information here. I click send. Let me refresh this page first. I click send OTP. You can see at the top here, it shows the email and also the cell phone number. So you can easily identify that whether you won't receive the OTP or not. Then you can tell us that you are no longer using that email. Okay, then after that you click fetch. Once you click fetch, it appears like this. It brings your information. You look at your information. If it is correct, then you can also update this information. Okay? Then here you can upload your profile picture, and then here you can upload your moderation letter. Here you can upload your assessor registration letter. Okay? Then on the next step, here you are going to see your qualifications. So it might happen that we did not list one of your qualification, you can also raise that, send us an email so that we can fix that. Okay, because this data comes from manual process into the system. Okay. Then here you can see all the unit standard. You also need to check them if everything is fine. Okay. Then you go back to the first step. You provide your information, physical address. Here also you provide this information. Then you agree to MICT CETA policy. Then I'm not a robot, and then you confirm your details. Once you click confirm details, automatically the system will generate login credentials for you using your email. Using your email, which we have sent you the OTP on. And also once you receive that, you will receive a link. You click that and then you can log into our system. You reset your passwords and then you follow all the instructions. This is how you, as an existing assessor or moderator, you can have access into our system. Okay? Once you have access into our system, this is the landing page. Then you put in your information. You see, I told you that you can even have more than one role into our system. So if you have more than one role, once you click login, you will find a page like this where it lists all the roles that you have. Okay? So you will select the correct role that you want to log in with. All right? So here are the roles that are listed, but currently I don't want to use any of this role. Let me log out. Okay. So this is the roles also on my another email. I also have more than one role. So I will select ETQA assessor. Once you select ETQA assessor, don't look for moderator, colleagues, knowing that you are a moderator but you don't see a moderator. Remember, for you to become a moderator, you must be an assessor first. Okay? Then you select ETQA assessor. Once you select ETQA assessor, it's when you can also apply for moderator, but you are not going to have a link for moderator when you log in. ETQA assessor and moderator is the same thing, so you will have this landing page. Okay? So on our left, colleagues, you can see it is our dashboard where we landed. We also have profile. We also have assessor or moderator documents, because if you are a moderator, it means you are an assessor. And then we also have application. Applications, it's where you do your application. Training provider request, it's where you receive requests as an assessor or moderator from different training providers. Then you can accept or reject that. I will show you. And then accepted training providers, these are the list of accepted, the ones that you are working with, you will find them here. And then at the below, here you are going to find your programs that you are working with as an assessor or moderator. Okay? So this is our navigation, colleagues, our menu. Then On the right hand side, top right, we have our logout button here. We also have ask question, where you can select the department, and after selecting the department, then write their title, and then you can ask any question to that department. Okay? Here on this human icons, it's where you switch roles. You don't need to log out. You can switch your role while you are in the system. Okay? Again, here under help, it's where you are going to find your user manuals. Video user manuals. Okay? And then you can also find them here. View user manuals. Alright? Okay. Now I'll take you to this dashboard. On this dashboard, colleagues, it's where you find your information is summarized, so you don't need to go into these tabs here, but you can quickly see the requests for assessor. You can see the request from different training providers as a moderator. Going down there, you see. So here is where you find your assessor registration document and moderator registration document. But this information, colleagues, you can still find it here under your profile. Okay, this is our dashboard. Then I'll go under profile. Under profile, under personal information, you can update this information accordingly. And then you click confirm at the below. Then registration letters, this is the one that I've showed you. You can open one registration letter. So this is one of the registration letter. It's an assessor. At the below, we have QR code, where when you scan this, automatically it will show all these unit standard or qualifications that you are approved for as an assessor. Also, with a moderation letter is the same thing. Okay? Then we move to qualification. So here again, you will see all qualifications that as an assessor or moderator that you are approved for. Clicking on the links, it takes you to SAQA. Okay? And then also at the below, you can see the unit standards that you are approved for as an assessor or moderator. So this is under your profile. If you wish to change your password, here you can change your password. Okay? Then under assessor or moderator document, this is a place where as MICT CETA, we will share documents to advise you. If we have any information, you'll find those documents here. Then you can easily download them and use the system accordingly, following our policies also. Then assessor application. This is where as an assessor you start your new application, whether you are an existing assessor or a new assessor. I'll start my application. As an existing assessor, you can see it gives me extension of scope. But for a new assessor, it will bring a different thing to show that this is a new application. Okay? So you will be extending your scope, whether as an assessor or moderator, you will select the correct one. Okay? After selecting the correct one, you start your application, then the status will be started as an assessor. This will be your application, and then the status will stay on started. You can see here we have our links, withdraw the application, meaning that you don't want to continue, you can click open to continue with the application. And we also have submission timeline. Under submission timeline, we track all your activities on the system, including our internal activities. You will be able to see. Let me open this one. These are your activities. Below it is our internal activities. So meaning that before you can call us, you can check even the status of your application, how far it is. Okay, then now I will open my application. Once I've opened my application, under personal information, it will populate this information. What you need to do is just to save personal details, because it takes this information from your profile. Okay, contact details, the same thing. You confirm, you save at the below. Qualification, this is where you add your qualification. As an assessor or moderator, you provide the qualification name, and then you upload your qualification, and then also you upload the transcript. Then you click add. Okay, then here at the below you will see the qualifications that you are approved for, and then at the top you can add the one that you are applying for. You start by selecting the sector, then you select your qualification. Okay, then you click add qualification to assess. Alright, and then it will appear on this top table. Unit standard, you do the same thing. At the below table, you see the ones that you are approved for. At the top, you can add your unit standards. Okay, and then we go to occupational qualification. You do the same thing. Here you can see I've added 2. The status is still pending because I did not submit this application. Once I submitted this application, it goes to our internal processes until it gets approved. Attachments, this is where you attach your attachments as a moderator or assessor. So remember, colleagues, on our attachments on the system, we don't have a delete button. So if you wish to replace a document, you just need to re-upload. It will replace the previous one. Okay, then under summary, this is where you check if you have all green ticks. If you have this one, it means there is something that is missing on your application. Okay, you can click check application. Then if everything is green, then it means you'll be able to submit your application. Then after submission, it goes to our internal processes. This is assessor moderator application. Okay, and then after you have submitted, the status here will change to submitted. You can see this one is just started. The status will be submitted. If you check the timeline, this is what we have done. You can see at the below, we only have one internal action, administrator assigned, meaning that they assigned someone to your application. Okay? All right. Any question, colleagues, before I jump to other things in terms of assessor moderator application? Yes. Yes. Yes, you're supposed to register. Yes. So if you need to understand this. If you are a new assessor, then you need to go to our website. Here, you click LMS login. Then you go to the registration part. Let me log out. You go to this registration part if you are a new assessor. But if you are an existing one, then you go to our website, you select assessor, moderator, registration, verification. You don't see the same. Yeah, I can't assist you now. Let me continue with the presentation. Then, yeah, they are coming to you. All right. So, yes. Yes, yes. Yes. Ren- Yes. If it says renewal, it means it has expired, maybe. Let's use the mic for the online people.
That's case colleagues. Uh, as Mr. T was showing, no, you are right. I think I was wrong because my assessor just expired. Today is it's going to expire tomorrow on in 2025.
In 2025.
Yeah.
Remember, we are taking manual data into our system.
Into a system.
So that's why while we start by confirming your information.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that we have correct information, and then you do all the updates on your own, then you can start your application.
Okay.
So, for example, if your assessor document, it is not yet expired, then it's easy for us to change the status, because the spreadsheet and the system is different thing. The spreadsheet, we migrated data, and then the system will give you the correct status. So it's easy for us to give you the correct status of your accreditation or approvals.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I was looking at the moderator. The moderator one is fine. I can able to add the qualification or either the unit standard. But on the assessor here, where it says the assessor renewal application, I've opened my profile. For an example, when you go to qualification, you should add the qualification. But on my system, it doesn't show that add qualification option. There is no that option of add qualification.
Yes, we'll assist you. Remember, sometimes you can have your qualification listed, but one is missing. That's why I raised that. Let's say you can send us an email with your letter so that we are able to add that information also.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mr. T.
Question? Okay. So, colleagues, I'll move to training provider. I'll move for training provider. So, we use the same way, identification, if I can say, to check our training providers and also our assessors. So remember, colleagues, in terms of our training provider, we don't have an application for training provider, but you can do your verification. Okay? So you go to this link here where it says training provider registration verification. Then with this link, it will take you to this page, which is our training provider registration verification page. Also, colleagues, with this one, there might be a possibility that you have changed your information also. You can send us an email so that we can update your information. Remember, you can put your accreditation letter here, and also you provide your email, but when you click send, you don't receive anything, meaning that it's going to be difficult for you to continue with your application or to have access into our system as a training provider. So you will send your accreditation letter to our ETQA at mict.org.za so that we can update your information. Okay? Once you provide your information here, you click send OTP. It is the same way we did on assessor. Then you receive your OTP. Okay. Then after that, you click fetch training provider. Once you click fetch, it will retrieve your information. You need to look at your information. Here you re-upload your accreditation letter. Then you look on this information. You can make changes. Okay. Then here you provide GPS coordinates where you can click and then takes you to another site where you can provide your information or addresses. Then you come back to them. The mic is okay. Then you come back to the system. You put that information here. Then you select the correct seater, and then you provide this information. Here at the below, you must provide your password. Remember, you don't have access yet into our system, so you will provide your password. Remember our password policy, as I told you, you must at least have 14 character length. Okay? And then, colleagues, again, our password do expire for security purpose, so the system will also ask you to redo your password after 40 to 50 days. This is for security purpose. Then you click confirm. Once you click confirm, you will be able to log in into our system. Here we also have, at the top, we also have some tabs where you can check your information. Here you can see that this is one of your accredited site. And then also here you can see the list of qualifications that you are approved for, and also the unit standards. And then here also you are going to see unit standards if you have them. Then here is where you add your ETD practitioners, your assessors, first aiders, and moderators. Okay? Once you add them, they automatically receive notifications that you want to work with them. Okay? Here it's summary. It's where it shows you whatever that is left and what you have completed. And then we also have a submit. At the below, you can submit your application. But I will also log in so that you can see this as a training provider and see how it looks when you are already inside the system. Okay. Before I can log in as a training provider, any difficulties with that verification information for training provider? I think we are fine. All right. Then I'll log in as a training provider. Once you log in as a training provider, colleagues, this is how your screen look. And we tried to be consistent in terms of the look and feel. The same as assessor moderator. This is how your graphical interface, user interface looks like. So you have your dashboard, profile, training provider documents. On the other side, you have assessor moderator documents. We also have application. On the other side, you also have application. Here you also have programs that you are working with as a training provider. You also have a certification. You also have training provider requests. Under training provider request, or if the employer wish to work with you and then they link you as their training provider, then you will find the request here. You will find the list of employers. This one is already accepted, and then you can accept or reject the request. Okay? Below is queries. With this one, it's when you communicate with us here, then you will find your communication here under queries. You will see your open queries, assigned, and closed queries. Okay? With also training provider, we have a dashboard where they find, it's a summary page actually with a dashboard. You can see at the top, induction, approvals, intervals, one, exit. So this is a summary page, even including those employers that you need to accept or reject. You find them here. This is a quick summary for you so that you just jump to the correct place. Under profile, as a training provider, you will find your accreditation letter and also the accreditation logo, which it has also your accreditation number. With the letter, also in terms of our letter, you'll see that they have a QR code at the below to verify. Okay? Then you can also see your qualifications that you are approved for and also the unit standards if you have them. Training provider application. This is where you do your application as a training provider. Okay? You start your application here. You see this one is for site, additional site. You can select it and then you provide your designation or position. You click start new application. Once you click start new application, your application status will be started. If you see the second one here, then you can withdraw the application or open the application. You can also see the submission timeline. I also told you that about the submission timeline. It shows all the activities that you do on our system, including our internal activities. Okay? So you open your application as a training provider. You click training provider. You check this information. If it's correct, then you save the information. To the second point here, personal details. You provide your personal details here. Then you click save. Then the important part here is where you add your sites. You can add your sites here, then you provide this information. Site name, web address if you have it, and also province, also the coordinates again. Then you click add training provider site. So once you click add training provider site, this one you see it says pending approval, which is one of the sites that we have added previously. Then you come to attachments. These are the attachments that are required, and then also the important thing, colleagues, please read this note that we mostly put, whether it's on ETQA or learning program, it is important to guide you. Okay, then you provide your applications. Since I told you, colleagues, that we don't have a delete button, if you wish to replace a document, just re-upload. It will replace the previous document. Then we have bulk upload. You can upload a document as a bulk here, or you can upload them one by one. Again, colleagues, with our system, you can start your application. If you don't have some of the documents, you can continue with your application the next day. Okay? So we save your information. Then here as a ETD practitioners, this is where you add your practitioners, whether a facilitator, assessor, moderator, first aider. This is where you add them. So when you add them, colleagues, let me show you. You click add facilitator, you provide their information including their CV, ID, qualification, and SLA. Then you are able to also select the qualifications that they are going to assess or facilitate or moderate. Okay? Then also the unit standard, and then also the site. You can choose which site are they going to work on or facilitate, including assessor, moderator. Okay? And the first aider here, you can do the same. When you add them, you are able to select the site. Remember, the sites are coming from where? Here, where you added your sites. So you'll be able to choose where you put your assessors and moderators. Then we go to summary. I've showed you how summary works. In summary, you will see everything that you've already done, and then with ticks, and then the missing one, you'll find them with cross. Then the submit button will not be able to submit. To enable this button, everything must be green here. Okay, so that you can submit your application as a training provider. Any question with this one? Yes, sir.
Mr. T, can you go to the attachment?
Okay.
On the attachment,
if it was a question, I was going to say, now I'm going to limit your questions. You've been asking, no one is asking. Under attachments.
Yes, with the current system that you are using in the LMS.
Yes.
On the bulk, if you want to upload the learners, you can just them on the spreadsheet and you upload that
Yes.
bulk. So here on the bulk upload of the legislative requirements, because you say you can upload either individually or maybe in a bulk.
Yes.
So if it's in a bulk, I'm having a folder of those documents.
Mm-hmm.
The text pin, for an example, it goes straight to the text pin.
Okay. If you upload as a bulk,
Yeah.
let me, you click here, you choose your document. First document, second document, the way you choose them, all of them, they will be listed here. You click here, then it will upload. Ne? But if you know that you don't have all these documents, you can come here one by one. You upload them, and then you can still re-upload if we also have a view button on this side. You check your documents. If it is correct, then if it's not correct, you re-upload. It will replace
No.
the previous document.
No.
Okay.
Question is answered. Thanks.
Yes, sir? You don't need to get worried. The issue, it might be the email that we have in the system or the cell phone number that we have in the system is not the same that you currently have. And then another one, it can be maybe we did not migrate your information, but even if we did not migrate your information, you will still have empty text box where you can provide your information. Let me listen to you. You wanted to say? Okay, they will come and assist you. Okay. And also, we are going to have videos that can assist you. Okay. Okay, colleagues. Then I'm moving from the training provider application. Now I'm going to programs. So as a training provider, colleagues, this is where you will be doing your programs. And non-funded programs and also funded programs. They will appear this side. Okay? So with these programs, colleagues, with the funded programs, automatically they will come this side. With the non-funded one, you are going to add them here. You are going to provide the program name, the start date, end date, learners, number of learners, and then moderation simple, and then if it is funded by MICT or not, also whether it is under employed or unemployed program, and then also you provide whether it's a full qualification or unit standard base. Then you click add a program. Okay, once you click add program, it will be pending like this. Then it's where you go to action. You go to action to add your learners. Okay, once you start adding your learners, let me show you with this one. I want the place where. So there is a progress bar here where you can trace if the learner information is on 100% or not. And for my program, I said I will add one learner. That's why I don't have an add button to add more than one learner here. Then you go under this learner, and then colleagues, again, you can add these learners with a bulk upload or single, one by one. Ne? So after you added them, the percentage won't be on 100% because you only added the information, but you did not add the attachments under each and every learner. So you need to go under each and every learner, click view, then you provide the information for that learner. You click save. You go to learner address, you provide the information, highest qualification of the learner. Parent or guardian is not a must if the learner is not underage. Then attachments also here. You provide these attachments for the learner, and then under summary you will see the information that you already completed in terms of the learner information. Okay? Then after loading all of your learners, then it's when we can go to the implementation plan. Okay? This is where you do your implementation plan, colleagues. Another thing that you must check here under programs now. If I click here, you see I have learner and I also have implementation plan. If you are going to the next stage, under implementation plan will be learner POE. That it shows you that this is your next stage. So we did not want to give you all the buttons at the same time because it might be confusing sometimes. So you will trace also your stages of your applications or whatever that you are doing on our system according to these buttons. So currently now I'm going to implementation plan. With the implementation plan, colleagues, this is where you plan your implementation. If you are going to collaborate with other training providers, you can also add that training provider here using their SDL number, and you click search. Once you find that training provider, you can add them. Okay? So once you add them, the training provider will also be able to view the learners that you want to integrate with that training provider. So you will be seeing the same thing. You will be working together. Okay? And then here, it's your full qualification, and then you can also add specializations and electives. So if you wish to add, you can just add one here, and then you just add it. Then it also shows you what it has been added. Okay? Unit standard also. There's the list of unit standard. Then you can also integrate your unit standard. To integrate your unit standard, let's say software development, JavaScript and other programming languages, you can integrate them so that when the assessors are assessing that unit standard, automatically it means they have already assessed for additional 2. Okay? So you click integrate, and then you select whatever that you are integrating this unit standard with. For example, you can select more than one, and then you can link them. Once you link them, this is how they appear, meaning that this unit standard is integrated with these 2. Okay? Then we go to learner group and ETD practitioners. This is where you add the groups and your practitioners here. Once you add the groups, let's say I add group 2, and then I have my facilitator here, assessor, moderator, and the side here. When you go under your learner list, you'll find your learners here, and then you can allocate them into groups. Okay? So whether you take this one to group 1 or group 2. Okay? Then at the below, you do submit your attachments. You can submit them as a bulk, or you can submit them one by one. This is how we do our implementation plan. Any question? You can ask a question while I'm presenting, yes? What it means is which modules that I can choose. Okay, I can choose the IT modules. Ne? In IT, we can do programming. Ne? We have HTML and other programming languages. Ne? HTML, XML. They are a bit similar. You can integrate them. So meaning that when the assessor assess HTML, automatically they assessed XML. That's how integration works. So they don't need to go under each and every unit standard. Yeah, I answered correctly.
Let me try. Oh, are you answered, ma'am? Are you answered? Okay, all right. I wanted to clarify that further. It's okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So I'm done with the implementation plan. Let me move to POEs or induction. So with the induction, colleagues, this is one of induction verification report. This is where you will have a good relationship with our advisors, and then with this one they will come and check your sites, and then there will be this report where you need to approve or reject. Actually, it's not a reject, you return it to your advisor. So when you do your induction verification, this is where you come. There's a compliant here. For example, you can see here it says accessibility. Maybe your building is not accessible for disabled people. Then the advisor will leave a comment on the site and say that your building is not accessible. Then you can return this to the advisor and say, oh, you did not see another door that it is accessible. Then the advisor can come and check, and then you resolve this issue. Okay? This is how we do our induction. So colleagues, in terms of all the reports that we have on the system, you will have these two buttons. You will either approve or return it back. Okay? So let me show you. Let me show you with this one. You see, colleagues, it's what I told you, that we don't give you all the buttons. Give you the buttons according to your application status. So we have this induction verification report. We also have interval verification report. We also have exit verification report. How do they look like? It is the same interface. You can return them back to the advisor, or you can approve them. Okay? Now I will go to learner POE. All right? When we go to learner POE, remember with learner POE, as a training provider, you'll be uploading the learner POE here. You will find list of learners, and then also on your left side you find the unit standard. Okay, when you go under each unit standard, you'll find the learners here, and then we have one learner mark, which you are able to upload the learner POE. Once you have finished uploading learner POE for this unit standard, even if it's 10 learners, 5 learners, or 20, you click send notification to assessor. Once you send the notification to the assessor will receive that notification, and then they will be able to assess. Okay? Then on the assessor side, there will be a button that say send notification to moderator. I will show you that button. Then the moderator can also do his or her part. Okay? So colleagues, before I can move to certification, here at the below, I told you that this is where you find your request. I can show you how the assessor and moderator receive those POE, and then they can continue with them. As an assessor here, I go under my programs that I'm working with. I'll find a list of programs that I'm working with. I view list of assessments. Learner list here. This is my learners, and then these are the unit standard on the left. When you click here, you can see now, as an assessor, I can put the marks for the learner, whether it's competent or not. This is the POE that was loaded by the training provider. Then I can send notification to the moderator. With the moderator side also, they do have the same thing. Let me click moderator. They do the same thing. They do moderate. After they finish their moderation, they send it back to the training provider. Okay? Let me log out of this one. Go back as a training provider. Let me use the same one because I'm about to finish. So, colleagues, as a training provider, now you go under certification. Under certification, you'll find all your programs here, and you can view your learners. Okay? Once you start to view your learners, this will be your learners, and then you will be able to see the certificates, the SOR, and also you can request for reprint. Okay? With the certificate, I'll go for my certificate. This is how our certificate looks like. There is a QR code in the middle. When you scan it, then it shows the validity of the certificate. Okay? Then with the SOR also, This is our SOR. At the below, we also have the QR code. All right. Then we can also request for reprint if they want a hard copy. If the learner lost a hard copy certificate, we can request for a reprint. We are also going to put this link for the learners on our website so that they can request themselves by providing their information, and they can request if they lost that. Okay, colleagues, this is where I end. Any question? Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah, it's just that I did not go to that API. Even if you have their documentation, when you scan that document, then it will show you the list of what they are approved for. Yes, and then we are going to also to share where you type in their accreditation number, and then you click search. It's just that I did not share that link on the website. Yeah, but after this roadshow, we are going to share everything on the website. Thank you.
Regarding
I don't know if I should ask Mr. T or maybe not ask.
please go ahead, Chris.
Right. When you wrap up, you spoke about the learners can have an access to the system to request the certificate. Let me say this is a non-funded program where the learners pay themselves. For an example, this learner doing technical support, and maybe the learner owe me 20 rand. That's an outstanding balance. And already I've done with the process of training and the verification, and the certificate is there already. And this learner now still have the outstanding balance. And the learner know very well, you know they are naughty. They can go to the system and get that request certificate, and then obviously I lost my money. So my safety in that regard, why is it? Because you know these learners, they are more knowledgeable than us. If they hear something, they can do it. I don't know.
It's just that I did not show the internal process there, but it seems like what you are going to do, you need to not to push that learner to certification if you need your money. Yeah.
Just to add on what Tim has just said, internally, when we approve that certificate, obviously we have to confirm with the training provider first. So we are not going to just print the certificate without confirming with you. And the reason we actually decided that learners should be able to request from them for themselves is solely if maybe a training provider no longer exists. So if a training provider no longer exists, then the learner is able to request for that certificate, for the reprint, okay? But we are not going to print without verifying with the training provider. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that there's a risk for you there, Chris, in the sense that your terms and conditions of accreditation are quite explicit. That once a learner has successfully achieved in terms of the assessment, moderation process and exit verification, that in fact you should be issuing the learner with a certificate. So I think it's incumbent on you to deal with your internal processing and ensure that you receive your payment prior to the exit verification taking place. But the truth is, the CETA cannot withhold a certificate from a learner if they've successfully completed. And your terms and conditions of accreditation stipulate that nor can you. All right, colleagues, I think we've reached the end of our session. I don't know if there's any additional questions you may have, thoughts or inputs. Please give us your feedback on the system. What do you think? I think you've been exposed to the previous system, the Praxis system that we had. You've also been exposed to our manual processes, and now we've developed the system. Can we get some feedback? What are your thoughts? What are your insights? What are your inputs into what we've developed? Is it fit for purpose? Do you think it's going to assist in lightening the administrative load that many of you sit with at this point in time with manual processes? Any views and feedback? You may go ahead, Chris.
All right. Before I can just give my view, I forgot to ask something. When are we going to start to implement this for the learners? Because with the DG ones, we have started already.
Mm-hmm.
When are we going to start to implement the system to the learners? And is it going to be for the new learners, or maybe the old learners that we are currently having, we are going to upload them?
I'll answer your question in a second. Let me take the gentleman who's had his hand up as well.
It's not a question that I have, but as I was listening to Mr. Tim outlining all the modules covered by the system, it's super system, I can say, because I think everything that would pop into my mind thinking about it, I think I see that element in the system, including the annual training reports, and I've heard from the previous speaker that there are modules like the finance part and so forth. So really we are very much impressed to see such a powerful system. And as he was presenting there about different buttons that you can see as you engage with the system based on your intervention, it's really amazing. And we can really see that there's a lot of efforts and resources that has been put together to put up a system like this. And this really makes us become so proud of for the MICT SETA in what they are doing. We are very excited to see that you are not just a SETA, but you prove to it that you are in the information technology space and leading from the front. So, and I can confirm, because I've seen with other SETAs as well, that they are following the trend that we have set in terms of this type of a system. So really, I'm not buying your face, but really we have to give respect where it is due. So you are doing very, very well, and we thank you very much, Mr. Tim, and with the entire team, the MICT SETA in general. Up to this far, really, we are impressed, and then we are very proud to be part of what you are doing as your stakeholders. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for that valuable feedback and for the accolades as well. As I said, this has been a labor of love. It's taken us quite some time to get here. And it's certainly not the end of the road. We know that as we go into the transitional arrangements, there's still many more changes that we can expect and that you can expect. And we'll certainly continue to do the capacity building, whether it would be in region or virtual sessions, just to bring you up to speed in respect of the additional changes. I don't know if there's, before I get to Chris's question, any other comments before I close with Chris's question? Nothing. Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Yes, we do. So aspiring training service providers can pivot to the MICT SETA website, where all the information is. You'd probably find, and I would guide you to stakeholder information. So if you pivot to that tab, it'll have all the information, any and all updates that are happening within the SETA environment. Our capacity building sessions are also then advertised there. We have social media presence as well, so you'll find us on LinkedIn mostly and on Facebook, and you'll find any further updates on both LinkedIn and Facebook. We do, and from an ETQA perspective, we will be running these workshops on a monthly basis, just until everybody has been onboarded in terms of the utilization of the system. We also, through our sister division, who's then responsible for the disbursement of discretionary grants, they run their own sessions as well, bringing aspiring providers up to speed on how do you access grant funding, what to look out for. And I think perhaps in Ms. Gianni's presentation, what should have come out quite strongly was the fact that most of the qualifications, if not all of the qualifications that we've developed and the ones that we've realigned, sit within what we call our sector skills plan, a critical document that is developed on an annual basis. Where do we get that information from? We get it directly from industry. They submit their annual training report saying this is the training that we've done over this period of time. They submit then their plan in terms of what skills they would like to implement within their entities. Over and above that, they have something called hard to full vacancies. And that basically says within this particular subsector, we are struggling to find, for example, software engineers. So that's your opportunity as a provider then to go into the sector skills plan and say, well, if we are looking for software engineers, 800 of them, what is the likelihood that only one training service provider would be able to produce 800 of them? So that tells you there's an opportunity for you to seek accreditation in that field. I must also tell you that all of the programs that have been developed by the MICT CETA sit within the sector skills plan of other CETAs. It's within the MERS CETA, it's within the EW CETA, it's within the CHIETA. So all the other CETAs are also looking for more of the technical telecoms and electronic skills that the CETA is responsible for. So opportunities are endless in terms of seeking accreditation and being able to be part of the value chain and accessing grant funding to be able to produce the set skills. Colleagues, it's important that we train to ensure that supply meets demand. The learners who come out of programs must either head into employability, they must, if not, then have access to possibly becoming entrepreneurs through the programs and the skills that we've given to them, or freelancers to become part of the gig economy as well. So we're not saying every single learner who's trained will ultimately be employed, but we must give them skills that are portable skills that could be used across the different sectors to earn an income and a living. And that is what we are all charged to do as part of the skills development fraternity. Chris, to respond to your question, so we want to go live with the system on the 1st of October. We finish off our last roadshow in the Northwest on the 19th of September. We do believe that would have given everybody the opportunity to understand what the system looks like, how it works, how it operates. You've had the opportunity through Tim to actually work on the modules, etc. And in addition to that, we will be uploading a video so that it could walk you through the process as you become a more frequent user of the system. But 1st of October is the go live date in terms of utilizing this full module. For the other divisions, like the Learning Programs division and the SSP division, those modules are up and running already. They are live already. So you can already, or should already be making use of the LMS for those particular modules. In terms of your historical learners, if you have submitted to the CETA in the past, so if you've enrolled learners through the process that we highlighted, you have a learner list that is, or at least a letter of confirmation around enrollment, then certainly those learners would be in the system because we are migrating historical data into the system. But it's important to note, colleagues, that we've been using manual processes for some time, almost 2 years, and manual processes are subject to human error. So you may not find all of your data in the system, and it's our humble request that once you have access to the system, please upload the necessary information in the format required. So Tim did highlight in the system, there is a format for a CSV file that you can download. It's important that you submit the information in that fashion, because what we do is we upload it into the system and then we report to the National Learner Records database. That's a central database where all of our information sits, every single one of us, whether we have gone through Umalusi, whether we have gone through OQSF, or whether we have gone through Council for Higher Education and Training, your traditional universities, TVET colleges. Everybody's information sits there. And that's the central database that is utilized to validate whether learners have in fact completed a qualification successfully. So if we do not submit this information, it compounds unemployment, because a learner cannot be found on the system and it seems as though they have fraudulently obtained a qualification. So I'd like to implore you, please, colleagues, if you have information that is sitting outside of the system that you have not reported to the CETA, please do so, upload it into the system so that we are able to have access to your historical data and continue to work to change the lives of the everyday South African. I took, Chris, your point as the last point, and colleagues, I think we are slightly ahead of schedule by 5 minutes, and we also didn't break, so I'm going to head into closure of the session. Colleagues, thank you so much for coming out and spending the morning with us. I hope that you found the session to be insightful, productive, fruitful, that it's given you an idea of where the CETA is going. For us, this is just the beginning. We see ourselves as leading the charge where innovation is concerned, especially in terms of ICT, the fourth industrial revolution, and what we now know and understand to be the fifth industrial revolution as well. But we cannot do the work that we do as a CETA without you. We see you as our business partners. The CETA may have access to the necessary funding. The CETA may be tasked with being the regulatory body in terms of implementation of the Skills Development Act, but we cannot do it without you, our skills development providers, without you, our ETD practitioners, assessors, moderators, subject matter experts, to actually implement these programs and ensure that the learners are receiving the quality of education that they need so that they can eventually become employable. So with that, colleagues, thank you so much for your time, participation this afternoon. There are some snacks in the back over there. I don't know if you want to still grab those, but we will be serving lunch in the restaurant as well. Please do join us. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and take care. Geez, I think I neglected to acknowledge two key people in absentia. The first person is Lydia Malehu, who acts as the advisor in this particular region, and I'm sure all of you know Lydia quite well. She practically runs this province, and then we have Ubongiswa, who has joined as our administrative assistant as well. So they've worked quite hard to put this event together, and I want to acknowledge them for all of the hard work that they do in the region, especially without having a regional manager at the helm. So if we could please give them a round of applause. Thank you for the work that you do.